Hey everybody, it's Ian the Off Kilter Crafter. I hope you're having a great day. I created this card, which is a very simplistic card after having all the trouble with those spinner cards or those interactive cards recently, the reveal wheel. And so to this week, I just kind of wanted to take it a little easier and make it less hard on myself. So I created this card, which is, I learned a few lessons. Even still, clean and simple cards can still teach you lessons. So let's go ahead and see how I put this card together. To get started today, I'm going to be using two stamp sets from Stampers Anonymous. I'm going to be using Bird Crazy, and from May Made It, I'm going to be using, which one is this? Big Time Sayings. I like the really scripty kind of hello on there, so I think that's going to work for today's card. As many of you know, I don't really do a test project first. I just pretty much go straight in on my projects and don't create a test one like many other designers do. So what you're seeing is me working through my process and creating and seeing what happens. So I think I'm going to be using this stamp set. Not 100% sure yet. We'll just kind of play it by ear and see what happens. First thing that I am going to be doing, I have a piece of scrap paper here. It's just regular copy paper. I'm going to go ahead and make a mask template. I watched one of Cathy Zielske's videos where she was doing some ink blending using a mask and doing some really great like shadow stamp or silhouette stamping. I realized as I was digging through my collection, I don't really have that many silhouette stamps, and so maybe that's something I need to look at buying some more of to help fill out my collection. But anyways, first thing I'm going to do is use a circle die to cut out a circle for our kind of mask, and then we'll pull some colors of some Distress Oxides. Let's do that. Alright, I got this cut out. I used my second to largest die from my Stitch circle dies from Simon Says Stamp. So I've gotten that cut out, and again, it's just going to be a mask. I would have reused a regular circle if I had one without all of the stitches to it, but this is literally the only circle die that I own. So you use what you have and make it work, and it doesn't really matter since it's not, I don't think it's going to go, well, it may. You know what? It may go through, and if that's the case, then that's just the case, and that's how that works. So we'll end up seeing if it ends up going through. I didn't even think about that. But not a big deal if it does, right? So anyways, I'm going to use this, and I have some 60-pound Recollections paper. I'm going to cut a A2 size card panel, so that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Alright, just to explain to you what I did, I held both my card panel and my template up to the light, so that way I could see where the circle was going to end up, and tried to best fit it into the center of my card. It's probably a little bit off, but it's always going to be off because I can't ever seem to get things lined up 100% perfectly, which is fine. So I lined that up and then just put a little bit of tape onto the back side to hold it in place. There are many other ways to do that. You could use a zig two-way pen in order to do it. I just wanted a quick and dirty way to make it happen, so that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to grab my colors of Distress Oxide. Alright, so I picked out 3 colors. I've picked Raspberry, I picked Raspberry, Salty Ocean, and Cracked Pistachio. Those are the 3 colors I'm going to be using today. I'm going to be using my blender brushes to kind of gently, I love the blender brushes because they really do help my heavy hand kind of blend it out so it's not so heavy and it doesn't look like a 5-year-old just started throwing ink on there. So I love these brushes a lot. They do help out tremendously. So if you're like me and you have a heavy hand, give these brushes a try, and of course the Distress Oxides, they really help out a lot to be able to blend very smoothly and very easily. Okay, I kind of struggled a little bit. I think because this copy paper is for laser printers, the ink seems to stay wetter on it for a little bit longer, so I actually kind of started to mix that blue with the pink, and it really kind of messed up my color scheme a little bit. Not a big deal though. I think even if it the good thing is with Distress Oxides, you can literally go back over them and basically take out what you did, and it seems to work okay. Did have a little bit of the edges there kind of bleeded, and it didn't quite get as clean as I would have liked it to have been, but still it looks just fine. Nobody's gonna know the difference. Okay, I've kind of laid out how I feel that this is gonna work best. I think maybe I should put this down a little bit more, maybe right about there. I think this will work out well, so what I'm gonna do, you'll notice that I have two types of stamps. I have the clear polymer stamps, and then I have my rubber stamps. And so what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna flip my Tim Holtz stamp platform over to the rubber side, so that way I can pick up the rubber stamp first, stamp it, and then I'll flip it to the other side and stamp my clear stamp. I don't have to take the clear stamp out because it's not interfering with anything, and I don't have to worry about it shifting or anything. It's just gonna stay right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up my rubber stamp, just like that. See, it didn't even pick up my clear stamp at all. And now I'm gonna ink it up with some Versa Fine ink, since I'm not gonna be doing any extra coloring or Copic coloring or anything else. I'm just gonna go ahead and use this Versamark ink. This is one of my absolute favorite inks to use. It gives such a crisp, clear impression. I don't have to worry about you know, splotchiness or anything like that. Sometimes I do have to stamp it twice, but that's kind of part of the game of it all, I guess, is you do have to, you know, make that happen sometimes. Like this one, it's not bad. I just want to make sure that it's a nice, crisp and clean image. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp it one more time using my Versamark ink, and then I'll use the Versamark on the hello. I think I said earlier that this was Versamark. This is actually VersaFine, I apologize. VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And you'll notice whenever you look at the panel here, wherever the stamp ended up happening on the Distress Oxides, it didn't get quite as a good impression as I'd hoped. I never really have done this before, so this is a learning lesson for me and hopefully for you as well. If you're ever stamping onto the Distress Oxides, it may not stamp as well as you had hoped. So maybe if I had used the Distress inks instead of the Distress Oxides, I would have gotten a better reaction to it, but still, it looks good. It's not a big deal. Honestly, like I said, if anybody gets this card, I don't think they're gonna freak out and call the card police on you. I think you'll be just fine. Okay, for the last part of this, I have the little My Friend stamp here from the May Made It stamp. I'm gonna pick that up with the door, and I have some black cardstock, and now I'm gonna use the Versamark, like I said I was using earlier. I'm gonna put some anti-static powder tool on it, so that way hopefully any of the powder that doesn't need to be there won't stay there. So I always forget to do that, and I'm glad I remembered today. So what I'm gonna do is grab my Versamark, I'm gonna ink up the stamp, try to get it nice and inky, and we may end up having to stamp this twice, but we'll see how this first impression looks. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and run it through again just to get, you know, make sure, just to triple check and make sure that it's getting all nice and inky. And then once I do that, I'm gonna use some embossing powder, white, super fine embossing powder from Ranger, and we'll go ahead and heat emboss this. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling my card. If you saw my last video, you saw that I kind of messed up both of my card bases because I scored it on the wrong line, but that's the best part about having a panel is it will cover it up and nobody will ever know that it was there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cover my front panel here with, or my card, with some dot liner adhesive, and then I'll go ahead and lay down my card panel on top of that. Next, I'm gonna take some adhesive tape. I'm gonna cut it in half so that way, or some foam adhesive tape, I should say. I'm gonna cut it in half so that way it is the right size to fit underneath my little embossed piece here. So that way it's, because this is obviously like way too big and would stick out. So I'm gonna cut it in half, and that way I have a little left over, and I'll be able to adhere this onto the card popped up and get it all ready and finished out. Have you ever had that moment where you're like talking while you're doing something and you just don't know where your brain is going? That happens to me quite frequently on here. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna attach this, I think right about here, and it's gonna be popped up. So it's hello, my friend. All right, so there we go. All right, there we go. We have a clean and simple kind of card. This was heavily inspired by Cathy Zielske, like I said, but I think it looks great, and I hope my recipient is going to enjoy it. I feel a lot of times when creating a simple and clean card, they can actually be harder because there's so few elements and so few ways to hide any mistakes that you make. But don't worry guys, you're not aiming for perfection, although I feel like I would like to have a perfect card. You're aiming to send your recipient some love and let them know that they're being thought about. So don't fret over mistakes or mess ups or anything like that. Always remember that the intended goal is to give your recipient a smile. I think that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, let YouTube know that you like my video, and then hopefully YouTube will share it across YouTube land. Also guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Click subscribe and click the bell notification icon to get great updates every time I post a new video or go live. You can also check out my social media. Those are listed down in the description below. Make sure to say hi and get social with me. I hope everybody has a great day, and remember guys, normal's just a setting on the dryer. Bye!